Hello everybody and welcome to the British Pokemon League show. We've got a very special show for you all today. It is the mid-season special. We have hit the midpoint. We've had free agency. Free agency's happened. People have been making transfers left, right and centre apparently. It's all change. It's all go as we move into week 8. We're into the business end of the season now. It's all about to get very, very exciting. Before we take a look at some of the transfers, why don't we take a quick look at the league table going into the second half of the season. As you can see there, the Bulu Boys still perched on top of the British Pokemon League table on first place, but it's all looking very, very close cut down there, isn't it? Toadstar Belgrade, Miami Heat, Loyang Goobies and Inglorious Surfers all on a 4-3 record with the Bulu Boys, and then Shadow Kings, Aurora Aquino and Newcastle Thunderers sort of lining up at the bottom there, just looking on as the top 5 just looks so scarily close. Yeah, who could have ever called that? You know, when you look at going into week 4 that you know, we had a runaway leader and a team still sat on no wins, that we would be in this position going into the second half. It's making it all that bit more exciting as we head into playoffs. It's just showing just how close the skill gap in this league is. It makes it, as I said, very exciting. Before we get into any transfers, let's just take a quick look at the format and what you can sort of hope to look forward to as we move into playoffs. So, of course, the 8 teams will play each other twice over the course of the 14-week schedule. We will be playing our final game on the 1st of May. This will schedule the main season to decide the main season winner. Main season winner is getting a smaller prize pool. That has not been decided yet, but the main season winner, first place, will be getting a small prize. We are obviously using the best of 3 VGC 7 rule set with a WB VGC tier list. The top 4 teams will be advancing to the winners bracket, with the bottom 4 teams going straight to losers. The top 4 teams, they only need to win 2 games to make it grand finals. They have a much cleaner, much shorter route to grand finals. They also have a nice little healthy cushion there. They can afford to lose 2 games before going out of the tournament. Well, they can afford to lose 1 game, not 2 games. You're losing winners and you drop on down to losers bracket. If you start in losers bracket, if you're in that bottom 4 teams, you can't afford to lose 1 game. You've got to make sure you keep winning to make it to grand finals, or you're out, you're done for the tournament. Playoff winner will be receiving a grand prize of $50 and will get first pick for season 2 of the league. So that is what is on the line here as we move into playoffs. That is what is at stake. So we've got a lot on the line, but let's start off things. Let's get the ball rolling and see what changes we've had going on. So we're going to start off with myself and my Bulu Boys, and as you can see, it's all changed for the Bulu Boys. Obviously, as we said, on a 4-3 record, currently in first place. Centre Scotch G-Max on a whopping 18 kills has been doing really big work for me throughout the season. That G-Max Centre Fairno has just proved to be just so solid. I'll be honest, G-Max Centre Scotch did nearly get dropped. I did and ah about changing him around. I sort of tried a few teams with Rillaboom G-Max, but in the end just decided that the Centre Scotch was the better bet really, and just went down that route. So as you can see there, I've swapped out Diggersby for Dracovish, Rillaboom for Crocodile, Torjicus for Porygon 2, Ice-Cube for Hippodon, Chansey for Sableye, Ditto for Fletch Inde, we've got Heracross for Golisopod, Maractus for Jolteon, Shuckle for Mawile, and Piloswine for Pinsir. Pinsir we have signed from Miami Heat. We have signed Golisopod from Toadstar Belgrade. Heracross has went the other way, but we'll get on to Toadstar Belgrade's team in just a little bit. So there is my team, as you can see on the right hand side. I'll be honest, I saw Dracovish doing so much work in the WB VGC draft for Wolfie, and it's just such a good mon. You know, Strong Jaw with with Scarf can be really lethal, and then Sandrush with Choice Band. You know, that's the reason Hippodon's there, potentially to run a Sand team. Choice Band, Sandstream, Sandrush, you're gonna be doing so much work, especially with Vicious Rend. You know, that move obviously gets double power if it moves first. You can't go wrong with that. Crocodile is a really strong Pokemon, has 3 really cool abilities. You've got Intimidate, which I've also got on Mawile. It's got Moxie, which we've had in the past with Heracross, and it also has Anger Point. Anger Point is a really cool ability. It's very much a chance ability. Basically, if you're hit by a critical hit with Anchor Point, it maximizes Crocodile's attack and it turns into a monster. We've got P2 and Fletchinder there for speed control. I had no speed control whatsoever in the first half, so I knew I needed to get that nailed down. Hippledon we've already touched on. Got Sableye as well. I knew I kind of wanted to prank him on going into the second half of the season. Just have that option there. It can play spoiler. With Prankster, it's gonna go first. And there's some really interesting thing you can do with Sableye. The trick eject button stuff has been touched upon before in VGC, and also Quash is a really great move on Sableye. We've swapped out the Heracross for Glycopod. What can I say? Glycopod did huge amounts of work for Torstar Belgrade in the first half of the season. It became available, and I couldn't say no to it. Jolteon, great support mon. We already touched on Morwell. And Pinsir. Pinsir is pretty much just Heracross without the fighting type. Not quite as strong, but it's a tier 4 pick I needed to get thrown in there. So that is my team going to the second half of the season. I'm feeling pretty damn confident going into it. I said I still sit top of the league, so if I can bring some of that early first half of the season form in the second half, I shouldn't see an issue. But that is my team. Let's move on to Toadstar Belgrade's team in position. They obviously are second place, also on a 4-3 record, coached by Wio, aka Jürgen Hopp. Glycopod did lead the kills for Toadstar Belgrade, as I touched upon, but there, as you can see, Toadstar have made about the same amount of changes as I've made. It's all change. Colossal Gmax has been swapped out for Gmax Snorlax. Obviously, some really fun, interesting things you can do with Gmax Snorlax. You can run it with Custap Berry, Belly Drum, Gmax Replenish. It'll keep eating that Custap Berry and going first. It's with the Belly Drum, it gets a 4 times attack and it genuinely becomes a force to be reckoned with. Dragapult has gone the other way to Shadow Kings with Politoed. He now has his mascot Pokemon. I know Wio is very, very happy to get that transfer done. And Politoed's very much going to set the sort of the bar for this team. Obviously, Politoed is one of 2 rain setters in our tier list, and Wio has went with pretty much a strong rain team. We've got Kingdra there, which has been swapped out for Duraludon. Kingdra is a great Pokemon. It is Dragon Water type. Not only can it learn Dragon moves, but it can also learn Hurricane, which obviously works so well in the rain, and then you have that as a Dynamax option with Max Airstream. It obviously gets it gets water moves, Hydro Pump. You can get that Max Geyser off, but more importantly, it gets the ability to Swift Swim. There's 2 mons in this team that have Swift Swim, Ludicolo and the Kingdra, and it just makes them absolute monsters. There is also Raichu in this Wheels team now that has been swapped out for Seismitoad. Raichu and Lightning Rod, it negates that one of the water types weaknesses. It's Politoed now has 1 less weakness to deal with as well. Raichu's on the field. You've got Bisharp, which has been swapped out for Hall Lucha. Bisharp runs Defiant. It's pretty much just there as a sort of a buffer for any Intim Mons or any stat drop Mons. The likes you've seen on maybe Aaron's, Bolton and Mons like that. Torracat has come in for Dubwool. Torracat is essentially just, it's a slightly worse Incin, but I say slightly worse. You can run the Eviolite on that, and it's just as good as an Incin. It's just as defensively bulky. It gets the same moveset. It gets Intimidate. Obviously, as you can see there, Heracross has went one way, and Glycopod has came to me. Wio now has my Heracross. Heracross did such big work for me in the first half of the season. Obviously, that first game against Aaron, the Mega Horn player, Mega Horn Course Combat. It's got a pretty wide move pool. It's a good mon. Shedinja has went into the free agent pool, and Wobbuffet has been picked up. The Wobbuffet, you could call it a Mimi Pokemon, but however, it has Shadow Tag. If it can sit there and Dynamax and sort of run Protect spam and Politoed Perish Songs, not only are they trapped, but that they can't do anything to stop the Perish Song going off. And finally, Serena has gone out the other way for Munchlax. I think very much Munchlax is just a generic pick for Wio to round out the bottom. Munchlax works as good as Snorlax in a sense. You can run that with the Eviolite. And Wio has elected to keep all around Weezing. Didn't really see too much of Weezing in that first half of the season, but obviously gets that. I was going to say Misty Terrain. Doesn't get Misty Terrain. Its ability basically negates other Pokemon's abilities. Neutralizing Gas. There you go. My brain does kick into gear eventually. I think he had to keep. I think the Weezing had to stay just to sort of make sure nobody else got it. But I'm going to stop talking about the team, and we're now going to throw it into an interview with Mr. Hop, with Weo, and we're going to have a listen to what he has to say. Hello everybody, welcome back. We are here with the coach of Toadstool Belgrade, Mr. Hop, aka Weo42. Mr. Hop, how are you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
I am okay, Mr. Star. I have my bottle of wine right here.
What kind of wine?
It's actually a 76 vintage.
Well, now that you're joint top of the league, I'm guessing you can afford these luxuries.
I've always been able to afford them, Mr. Star. I just never thought to boast.
Well, anyway, now that we've got over the pleasantries, let's have a talk through your season. So obviously, the start of the season it didn't start particularly great. Obviously, we lost the 2-0 to Gumi. So what did you change going forward from that game? Obviously, the next game you beat the Inglorious Surfers in a 2-0 fashion. What was what was a big changing point in that team?
Well, Mr. Star, you may or may not have known this. Going into the draft, actually, there were two Pokemon that I really, really wanted on my team, and unfortunately, they were taken.
Yeah, yeah.
This was quite unfortunate as I had practiced with the team
Mm-hmm.
and not with the one I ended up drafting. Uh,
So you were saying you
Obviously,
ill practice with the team you ended up with.
all I'm saying, Mr. Star, is Jurgen Hopp. He is a man who needs a certain level of trust with his players,
Mm-hmm.
and the trust just wasn't there week one.
There's
You know,
just
they saw me. They may have seen me pull into training. Actually, I was in my Lamborghini.
mm-hmm.
Uh, just tears streaming down my face at training. I was that upset to have lost out on two of arguably the best Pokemon in the game.
Yeah. What do you want to elaborate on
Um,
what these Pokemon are?
I wouldn't like to. Obviously, we're a team now. I wouldn't like to single out individuals, Mister Star, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll get onto that in a bit, shall we?
Okay, sure. As you were saying.
Well, you see, after week one, I realised that I had to form this team of misfits together. I identified the strengths and weaknesses of my opponent's week two, that of Inglorious Surfers.
Mm-hmm.
And the call went out, Mr. Star. A forgotten man, a man who truly on his day, and on literally no other day, was an absolute god among Pokemon. An Arceus, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was
He's
Golisopod.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Glycopods. Obviously, he only featured in the two games, but he was really big for you in those two games. So like,
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
was that always the plan for him when you drafted him? Did you think he was going to be that sleeper pick, or did you always have the confidence in him that he could bring that form into a game?
Well, Mr. Star, as you may recall from just a few seconds ago, I did say I was crying in
Mm-hmm.
training.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
also occurred during the draft. I may have misclicked on the mon I was drafting, and Golisopod may have been put on the team.
Oh, so you
Uh,
did misclick.
yes, however, naturally, talent shines through, as you well know. Well, maybe you don't. However, Mr. Hop obviously understands, and yeah, even a misclick turned out to be something beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So like, he was ended up being a very happy accident, I guess. Then. So
Uh, just as my mother calls me, a happy accident indeed.
very
Is
strong
something funny,
words
Mr.
there.
Star?
No, no, not at all. So going
Okay, good.
further on into the season, you obviously picked up a really huge win week three against Latvians Miami Heat. Do you want to talk us through that game and sort of what was going? Obviously, we were in the comms during that time, and you were very hype and excited. What was
Well, Mr.
going through
Star,
your head when you pulled off that 2-1 win?
we all know that I'm a very animated coach, generally speaking. When it came to this game, some of my coaching methods may not have been the most stereotypical, shall we say.
Hmm.
I may have been on a slight bit of ketamine before this game,
Okay.
just a tiny bit.
Yeah, just
And
to get you through it.
if you remember the comms, I was a bit off my face.
you were very, very excited. It's always good to feel that energy coming in. Do you feel like that positive, that really excited energy helped get you through that game?
I believe that the ambulance afterwards got me through the game. I may have OD'd slightly,
I think
but
the
I
water.
feel like it's justified with Seismitoad
I was
picking
going
up
to say
3
the
kills.
Seismitoad did a lot of work, and the water absorb completely walled the Blastoise during that game. And I said
Hmm.
we were all very excited and hype in the comms, and yeah, it was just a really great game to witness. So, I mean, so after that, you had a pretty much like a topsy turvy sort of time from there. So you went on to lose to Dogsy, and then picked up a win the next week against Dave. You were then able to beat myself, Bulu Boys, and then losing out to Gus's Inglorious Surfers the final
Hmm.
week. So, what do you think was sort of a big factor into that sort of inconsistency towards the latter end of the first half of the season?
Well, I mean, as you say, week 4 against Shadow Kings, there were a few issues within the camp. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but basically, how do I put this nicely? You know, Shedinja.
Hmm.
Many people thought it was a bit of an odd draft. He had actually been sleeping with my wife.
Oh, oh
Hmm.
gosh, okay.
It was quite unfortunate, and obviously that put a bit of a dampener on the team's spirits going into that game.
Yeah, I could see why that would be a bit of a distraction.
Plus, you know, I was expecting my side piece, Wheezing Galar to appear, but that was not the case.
Yeah, so that ended up being quite an unfortunate wrong prediction in that game, but I think as well, I don't think Dogsy will mind me admitting that there was a bit few RNG elements that played into that game 3, but it was a great game either way. I think both coaches could come out of that with their heads held high. It was just unfortunate that the prediction didn't quite work out on your end, but. Going into the second half of the season, obviously you find yourself
Hmm.
joint top, second in the league. Obviously joint second, third, and fourth on a +2 record. So
Mhm, mhm.
your week 8 opponent is Long Island Goomies, who sit on the same record and same match record as yourself. So um, let's talk about a few of your changes and how you think that they're going to sort of benefit and affect you going into this first game. So obviously. You've gone for a pretty much a full team change at this point.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so let's talk about the Gmax first. You've obviously swapped out now. There's no longer the Colossal, which was there to be procced by the Dragapult. So you've now gone for the Snorlax Gmax. Can you sort of give us some pointers to how you think you're going to use that and how it's going to benefit your team this
Well,
season?
Mr. Star, I was walking back home from training, as you do, as you do. Sorry, let me just have another sip of my wine here.
Hmm.
Mm, beautiful. Right, so I was walking home, and we noticed, you see, there was this big creature blocking my path.
Hmm.
This turned out to be Snorlax.
Did you use a flute to wake it up?
Um, there was a flute and there was blowing, if you catch my drift. However, yes, he did wake up in the end, and he offered his services
Yeah.
twice that night. Um, I believe he'll be a great asset to the team. He is chunky. He's quite derpy,
Hmm.
which is definitely a theme I'm going for with this team.
Yeah. Hmm. Obviously, that Gmax replenish can be really really huge on the Snorlax as long as you can get the follow me the distraction play going on. I think a Snorlax can be really big. Obviously, going through the rest of your team, you've gone for a pretty much. I mean, it's not pretty much. It's a rain team. Top and bottom. Obviously, you've got Politoed as your rain setter, and you've got Ludicolo, Kingdra. Um, who else have we got here? Second, you've got Bisharp in there, Raichu, and you've got
Hmm.
also Wobbuffet as well, which is a very brave pick. Do you want to talk us through the Wobbuffet pick?
Um, what is there to say about Wobbuffet? He was first in the draft, if
Mm-hmm.
you'll remember.
Yep.
Uh, truly, what I hate to say it, but he was one of the ones I was hoping to pick up
Yeah.
in the initial draft. Truly, just a fantastic team member in this. He has a lot of health, more
Yeah.
than I believe everyone else on the team. Yes, that is correct. And if you'll notice, appears to be covering up where his nuts would be. And I feel
Yeah.
that is vital for this team because we are going to get absolutely spanked by a few in the league.
Oh, okay. So you seem a bit apprehensive about your chances there, but on the plus side, you do have your mascot, your man Politoad. You were able to get the swap with Dogsy to Dragapult going the other way. So, what sort of what words were exchanged to sort of ensure that transfer went through with Dogsy? What how did you swing it your way?
Oh, well. Myself and Dogsy, me being a toad, him being a dog, it's sometimes language barrier can be quite difficult,
Yeah.
when organising transfers. However, I believe my intentions were made quite clear that I wanted said Politoad, and I believe he will be the star man. Um, just truly a great Pokemon. What helped seal the deal, as you can see, we have no longer got Dragapult on the team.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's gone the other way
yep.
to Shadow Kings.
Dragapult did leave for two reasons, actually. One, to make the trade happen, and two, because he is actually vacationing
Oh, okay. Yeah,
this year.
he's gone on holiday.
Yeah, he's gone on his holidays because, let's be honest, Mr. Can I call you Mr. Star?
Mr. Star, you may call me Mr. Yeah, sure.
That's good. I'm going to call you it anyway. Dogsy is an absolutely trash player, and without the RNG last time, would have been a free win. To be honest with you,
Okay.
so might as well let Dragapult have a bit of a vacation.
Yeah, yeah, let him have some time
You
off.
know,
Obviously, Dragapult did have one of the highest deaths of all
hmm
the Pokemon in the first half of the season, but did come in quite clutch on a few occasions. Obviously, you were only able to get the self-proc steam engine weakness policy thing off at one or two times, but do you think you're in a better position now with Politoad rather than Dragapult, or do you have any sort
I
of?
mean, Mr. Star, look at what team you're talking to here.
I'm talking to the Toadstar Belgrade.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Is there anything more that needs to be said? We
Well,
are Toads, we are Stars, and we are going to absolutely piss the league.
sound very, very confident. So,
I am currently looking at all the other teams, actually,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of the transfer, and you just think, what are all these coaches doing?
so, you,
Like,
you don't you think that that there's no other team that stands a chance? Then you think you've got this in the bag?
I'll be honest, I don't even think it's worth turning up with my Gmax at all.
Okay.
It's just that easy. We need to handicap ourselves a bit here. Uh, I mean, I would say that Bulu Boys are my next closest rival, but that'd be lying, wouldn't it?
No.
Oh, I think it would.
No.
Oh,
That's very, very
definitely.
brave of you to say that. We will see what happens later on in the season. So, but
I can
talking.
guarantee you right now, Mr. Star,
Mhm.
Toadstar Belgrade will win 2-0 in that game.
Okay, well, we'll definitely see what happens in there. But talking about the rest of the season, what are your predictions going into playoffs? So now in the business end of the season, the last 7 games. So, how do you think your season's going to go from here on out? Obviously, you had a bit of an inconsistent time in the first half.
Well, Mr. Star, if you see the rankings, obviously a lot of teams on 4-3 or 3-4.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Dave on 2-5. I don't know how he managed that.
the black
Must be
sheep of the
pretty bad at the
family.
game. Hmm. However, I mean, you look at the table, you think, well, Bulu Boys had a lot of RNG to get top. Miami Heat, they're all right, but without the two Urshifus for Long Island Goomies, I just don't think anyone poses a threat, really.
Yeah, well, the
You
rain
know,
the rain team
the
is
only
looking
thing
very
holding
strong.
the only thing holding us back previously was
The
the
manager.
team. The coach was absolutely fine.
Oh, okay, okay.
Uh, I have my credentials. I've won every game that I haven't slated off another manager. So I feel like if I just insult everybody at once, there's no way I'll lose.
Okay, that's a very, very bold statement. Yeah, bold prediction. So let's have a sort of just an out there and another bold prediction. Where do you think you're going to finish in the main season then? Where are we saying? Obviously, you said you're going to piss the league. So does that mean you're expecting to finish top?
Mr. Star, there is no expectation on this team. This team will finish top.
It will. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that for sure, and I'll be very interested to see how this Rain team develops and performs during the season. But we've run out of time here, I'm afraid. So we're gonna pass it over onto our next interview, and we will leave you there. But thank you very much for your time, Mr. Hop. Do appreciate it. I know you're a very
thank you
busy
too,
man.
Mr. Stam. May I just point out one thing?
Sure thing.
I've once again had a look at the league table, and I've noticed that Inglorious Surfers have went 4-3. I believe their manager is Aaron.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I believe he will finish second this season.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. Bigging up Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. Nice. Right, okay.
That is all. Thank you.
That is all. Well, okay. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Hop, and we'll see you next time.
Good day.
Bye. Alright, that was the coach of Toadstar Belgrade, Mr. Weird over there, with some very, very outlandish, very out there, bold statements right there. You never get a dull moment with Mr. Hop there. That's all I'll say. So yeah, let's move on quickly from that. We've got Miami Heat up next. I will apologise there. The graphic is incorrect for Latvian's team there. It's actually unfinished for some reason. I do apologise to Mr. Latvian for that. But Latvian with just a couple of changes this time round. You got the Clef swapped out for the Lipad. Lipad obviously with the running the Prankster. Lipad can also run Copycat, so that can be paired with a Trick Room user to sort of make sure you get the Trick Room off. Beware has went out to the free agency pool in the place of Fungus. Fungus, the smaller, younger brother of Amoongus. I wouldn't count Fungus out. It obviously still gets Spore. I'm not sure that it gets Rage Powder. If someone can clear that up for me, I don't know that it gets Rage Powder. But obviously you run that thing with an Eviolite, it's going to still be pretty damn bulky. And of course, Pincer has moved on over to my team, Bulu Boys, and Latvian has picked up Machamp in place of Pincer. Machamp is a pretty damn strong Pokemon. You can't count that out. Whether it's up there with sort of, tier 1 Pokemon, you don't know. But knowing Lat, I know how good Lat is. Lat's got some great strats up his sleeve. I'm pretty damn sure that the Machamp will come into play at some point and do the work. You definitely cannot count that thing out. Next team on the list, we have got the Long Island Goomies. Long Island Goomies also on a 4-3 record, sit there in 4th place going into week 8. The most kills on that team is the Dracozolt. Dracozolt, just like Dracovish, it's the reason that the fossils are just so good. You really, it gets Bolt Beak, which is just the electric version of Vicious Rend, and it's such a strong Pokemon. Just the 2 changes for Goomies. Silly did identify that he had a bit of a fairy type issue in that first half of the season, and he has pretty much nullified that. The Urshifu Dark has swapped out for the Durant. As we found out, you can't actually bring both Urshifus to the team, so a lot of the time the Dark Urshifu wasn't really coming. So I think that's a very sound and very strategic pickup there. Durant is a really strong Pokemon. It's really high attack, quite a fast Pokemon as well, and as we said, it is going to solve that fairy type weakness, I would think, to an extent. And Alchemy has swapped out for Comfy. Comfy obviously gets Triage. Triage is such a great ability. Moves its healing moves to the top of the priority bracket, and obviously it does get Trick Room, gets Floral Healing. Is such a solid support Pokemon. Is a really high defense. Those he might have made one of the least changes in the league, but that I wouldn't say that's a negative thing at all. That's still a very, very strong team. I fully expect that Fletchling to put in the work again going in towards playoffs. And yeah, he's kept the core of the team. It's still a really, really, really strong team. There's just so many avenues he can run down with that. It's a lot like Miami Heat is such a versatile and sort of different team. We've seen him run so many different things. Silly he does have a habit of trying some very outlandish out there strats. Sometimes to his credit, sometimes not so much. But that's the way it goes. You've got to try these things in Pokemon, especially in Draft League. And I've high hopes for Long Island Goomies. Moving on, we have got Aaron's Inglorious Surface also sat there on the 4-3 record. They sit there in 5th place, just losing out on match record. Hatterene G-Max with the most kills on that team in that first half of the season. Yeah, I'll be honest, and we'll touch on this in the interview with Aaron in just a sec. Aaron did not make the best of starters to the league, and he was running very much a hard trick room team, and it looked very worrisome for him to an extent. Yeah, it looked a little bit concerning, but he obviously got the win in week 3 against then top of the table Long Island Goomies. And just went on some absolutely crazy run. He's lost once in 4 games. To go 4-3, and you really can't. I mean, this is very much this league. Anyone can beat anyone. It's a very close, compact league, and especially where people are now in record. It's you couldn't call it which way it's gonna go, and after making a little bit of a shaky start, Aaron's really brought it back. But let's get into those changes. The Amoongus has swapped out for Terrakion, one of the Swords of Justice coming in there. It's a legendary Pokemon. What more can you say? Terrakion is a really great Pokemon. It gets justified if you can run beat up with Terrakion and get that off successfully. As long as there's no Rage Powder follow me on the other side, you are looking really strong, and Terrakion has a really high attack. Gastrodon has went the other way for Zoroark. Gastrodon, I don't think really came too often for Inglorious Surface in that first half of the season. Obviously, he does run that Storm Drain, but I can totally understand why he made that pick. Zoroark is a very troublesome and funky Pokemon. Obviously, it gets the Illusion ability, which makes it copies the Pokemon that is 4th in the party. It does have a fairy type weakness. Obviously, if you choose the Pokemon the 4th in your party that also has a fairy type weakness, you're gonna get banned. But if they don't predict that, if they don't know, the thing I always think with Zoroark is, yes, they probably know it's Zoroark, but do they know for sure? It creates that sort of like that second guessing in someone's head and might knock them off their game plan. Orangaroo has went out for Riolu. Riolu, we have seen a little bit in Series 8, actually. Series 8 VGC has been running Copycat to sort of get that Trick Room off. And also can run Coaching, because it is Prankster as well. Coaching's going to go first, and you can really beef up a Pokemon that way. You don't need Weakness Policy if you've got a Riolu sat there. And finally, Rotom Frost has went out for the Doug Trio. Doug Trio is a surprisingly speedy Pokemon. I never thought it was, but it genuinely is. And it's maybe not the best Pokemon out there, but I think paired up with Terrakion, it can obviously learn beat up. That's pretty much going to be its forte there, and it's a strong Pokemon, and it's a strong team. Aaron knows what he's doing. He's built that team really well, and now he's got Mons out that work outside of Trick Room as options as well. So we know how much work that Gmax Hatterene can do as well if it gets going. If Trick Room does go up, it's very scary, and the Gmax might. Yes, okay, the confusion, the RNG doesn't always pay dividends for Aaron, but there is that opportunity that it might work out, and I fully expect it to do it. Aaron's going to have a great second half of the season. But without further ado, let's hear from the man himself. Let's hear from Aaron. We interviewed him just the other day. Let's hear from the man himself. Yo, hello everybody. We are back with another interview. We have got the coach of Inglorious Surfers, Aaron T. Marjley. Aaron, how are you doing?
I am gravy, baby.
Gravy, baby. I like to hear it.
Yeah.
So, how do you think the season went for you on a whole? Let's start off there. Just sort of give me a brief overview of how you think it went.
Yeah. So, everyone that's been watching and following our draft league, the beginning was quite tough. I picked up, was it 3 losses? I think in a row.
It was 2. You got 2 0-2s.
That's right.
Weeks. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I picked up 2 losses straight off the bat. I didn't try to let it get me down too much, because if you let it get you down, then you're probably going to be making like the same mistakes.
You just domino effect, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I just decided to get my game plan on and actually like really concentrate on the weaknesses of the team that I would be going up against. And yeah, from then on, I think I won one after that and then lost again. And then I won 3, I think.
3.
Yeah, and then I won 3 in a row.
Yeah, we're
So
just talking about this. You went like after you lost against Rio, you went 4-1,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
just a
So
crazy record in its own. So like, yeah. So like, what exactly do you think you change? As say you sort of focus more on other teams' weakness. Obviously, you focus in on Silly's fairy type weakness, and that worked really well in that game against Silly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the obviously the forfeit game to Gus we won't talk about, but the 2 games after that, obviously a huge win against Latvian and then another great win against Shelly King. Sort of, what do you think sort of propelled you through those games to give you the victory?
You know, yeah, do you know, I think what it was, I was, because of my team, everyone can see, of course, the hard trick room. And I think I concentrated too much on trying to just get my trick room up.
Yeah,
And I think that just sort of like took me away from actually trying other things. Because after that, I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to, try something else. Instead of going straight for trick room, I'm going to try something else. And that's when I started playing around with Bolton, and and then I started playing around with Gigalith more. And it actually worked to my favor. I stopped trying so hard to try and get my trick room up, and I actually managed to pick up wins even without the trick room. So even besides the last game, of course, where I actually managed to get not 1, not 2, but 3 trick room. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was half of the problem that I had at the beginning of the season. That I was just trying too hard just to get trick room up.
Yeah, you're just sort of trying to work out your team and how it works and sort of work best. Because I think like a lot of what sort of worked for you so well was just, I mean, the switching Scrafty in obviously always was a safe bet, just to get the Intim off. But getting the likes of Gigalith in just because it's such a strong Pokemon. And setting up the sand. Again,
exactly.
Doing that chip damage and getting that Spadef up has always just worked really well. And then I was very glad to finally see Bolton come out, I will be honest, because it's such a great support mon, and the attack and special attack drops it can do, even if it dies straight away, it's done its job. Very true. So I can't say more than that. It was very impressive just to see the sort of the bounce back, because I think a few people sort of, not to discredit yourself, but they probably did start to maybe count you out after those first 2 sort of those losses. They were a bit like, oh, okay, like, could this end up being too much? But like, the game against pretty much every game you won was a game 3 as well. Like, you just brought the entertainment factor to the league.
It was hard trying to get those wins. It was everyone. I mean, you know that no one's going to give you an easy time, of course.
God, no.
But they were difficult wins, and really close, even against Latvian, which I think I said in the video. Even though it was a 2-0 win, they were really hard games, like really hard.
Yeah, I mean, both went to like sort of 1v1,
It did.
At the end, like went quite a few turns in as well. Like, you look at it and see, it was a 2-0, and you think, that was really clean and simple. But no, it was high octane action.
It was.
It was non-stop. It was I genuinely think it was probably my personal favorite game so far.
Sure. The one against Latvian was great. I loved that one.
Just as a sort of neutral, it was just. I mean, the game against Silly as well, it sort of had that as well. It was just one thing would happen, you think, oh god, how's he going to come back from this? And then you do this, like, your G-Max Hatterene and get a confusion or something, and it's just like, oh my god. So we're now at sort of the halfway point in the season. You've made a few changes to the team. You've obviously lost Amoongus now. You've swapped out Amoongus. Can you sort of talk to me about the Amoongus swap and what you think Terrakion's going to bring to the team?
I mean, it's a big trade, because of course everyone knows how good Amoongus is. It's an amazing redirection mon. And of course with Spore can absolutely destroy you if you allow it. But to be honest, like, I looked at both my redirectors, and that was the thing. I had 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I really need 2 here? Like, not really. That tier 1 Pokemon could actually be a Pokemon that is completely different to what I'm actually doing at this moment. And I thought, okay, what is completely different? a Pokemon that is stupid fast, and Terrakion is one of those Pokemon that is stupid fast. And yeah, yes, I don't know if it will be a mistake taking away a Moongus. I had to weigh up which one to keep, Indeedee or a Moongus, and I decided to stick with Indeedee because of the psychic terrain.
Yeah, I think as well. You sort of you're conscious of like, okay, like I maybe don't need this mon so much now, but if I get rid of it, I'm potentially giving it to someone else who might be able to use it to their own benefit, and it's a
exactly.
very difficult thing to weigh up.
Yep.
So I mean, Terrakion's a really, really strong physical attacker, and obviously has the ability Justified. Do you think you're going to be using? Obviously, there's that well-known strat of Justified with beat up. Do you think that's going to play into your team without giving too much away? Do you think that's
no? I think if you know about Pokemon, and you look at my team now, I think you can see the beat up that is there. And yeah, it's definitely a strat that I'll maybe can give a go. If I can get away with it, I'll definitely try.
It's a great, like, if you can get it off, it's a really, really fun strat to work.
It is, yeah,
and it's like teams with just the one mon.
You can, yeah, you can.
Yeah, so I mean, going on to your other trades, you obviously picked up Dugtrio, which I'm presuming is your sort of the potential beat up user. Or...
That is, yeah. It's not your conventional one, like
No.
I mean, you would probably think of Whimsicott or Weavile. Weavile gets it as well.
Weavile, yeah.
So you would probably think of one of those, but no, Dugtrio can do it as well. And everyone forgets how fast Dugtrio actually really is.
Fast. Yeah, and
it's faster than Terrakion.
And gets Sandforce and Sandveil as well, which
paired
with is really great.
Yeah, Dugtrio is not a Pokemon to be taken lightly, really.
Absolutely.
And then so I've done some other trades as well.
Riolu and Zoroark.
Yeah, so I decided. Who did I? It was Gastrodon. So yeah, I traded Gastrodon for Zoroark. I thought to myself, is getting rid of Gastrodon a bad mistake? But then I thought, you know what? I haven't actually used it. I think I used it in one game, and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I decided to get rid of it because I've got Cloyster there for a water type anyway. So I didn't really need it. Yes, the likes of Gigalith is super weak against water, but Gigalith can take a water hit,
Oh, absolutely.
Well, at least one. But so yeah, Zoroark's come in its place, and I really like Zoroark because
very interesting Pokemon. I use it quite a lot on my meme teams, and it's very fun to use.
It's just if you've got it in your team, your opponent's going to be like, "Oh God, is this Zoroark looking at me?"
Mind games,
yeah. It's the mind games.
Absolutely, and it's it's like I've said that as a meme Pokemon, but actually it's special attack. If you can get like a nasty plot off as well, it can just steamroll the teams. Like
it can,
especially when they're not, if they don't know what it is yet and they're trying to prepare.
No, exactly.
You're like, it can
especially
catch someone off guard if it illusions into something that's really slow or like something weak, and I think, oh well, that's not going to do anything. But then all of a sudden it hits them with like a max darkness or a max flare or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's and again, like Dugtrio is not a Pokemon we slept on, and then Riolu as well with Prankster. Obviously, I think it's a one that's been used a bit in Series 8. If I'm not.
It's being used at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk me a bit about the Riolu pickup?
Yeah. So I mean, if you play VGC competitively, you know that Riolu actually has a specific move that it can use, called Copycat, and it's a way of getting your Trick Room up a different way. You can. So what happens is, I will say it to everyone because most people will probably know about it anyway. But if you don't, it is a really good strategy to know as well.
Yeah.
But so you Dynamax your G-Max Pokemon who learns the Trick Room. You Max Guard with that Trick Room move, and then Riolu copycats and gets Trick Room up straight away.
All right, yeah, okay.
So it is an amazing strategy. It's really cool. It's just a different way to get your Trick Room up. However, it does waste one of your Dynamax moves. That is the downside to doing that strategy, because you just Max Guard. So, that's a strategy to look out for. I mean, Prankster is it's a cool ability anyway, and Riolu gets some like really cool moves despite the copycat trick room thing. So it can also do coaching if you want to
I was
boost
gonna
up some,
say
you know.
coaching, obviously with
Yeah,
price, it can be really, really good. You know, if you've got them on that's already
yeah,
strong, you can really catch them off guard
yeah,
with a
exactly.
coaching
Yeah,
play. So yeah,
yeah,
no, you've made some pretty solid trades there, I would say.
yeah.
So obviously you finished out the first half of the season 4-3, so you're currently technically joint top of the league.
Yeah, yeah, strange,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, you know, there's 5 teams on 4-3 now. So going into the business end of the season, sort of going towards playoffs. Sort of what are your predictions for your own team and for just the league in general as we sort of go into these final 7 games?
I think in the second half of the season, I will be playing sort of better. Like, I think yes, I've picked up 3 wins in a row now, which is great. But I just want to keep maintaining that, and yeah, I'm just hoping to keep doing that. But I know that all the other teams, like even Newcastle Thunderous, it's Dave, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Dave.
it's
Yeah.
Dave's team. He's going to want to get out of that bottom
Oh,
position.
absolutely.
So he's going to be playing his heart out, So you got to watch out for everyone still.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this a few times, and it's been proved that when yourself beat Silly, Gus beat me when I was top as well. Like literally anyone can beat anyone in this league.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever like shock results. Yes, someone
No.
might have a certain record and it might suggest something, but like the right team, the right matchup,
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
really being on it, and literally anything could happen. So,
Yeah.
do you think do you feel confident that you're going to make it into a sort of winners bracket in playoffs then?
Hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I reckon so. I think with the Pokemon that I've now brought into my team, I think I've got more like diversity.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've got more going on now rather than just Trick Room.
Trick room,
It is
yeah.
now it's a load of different things now. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's important you've now got like even yes you've got the trick room, but you've also got a different way to sort of proc it as well now. Obviously with that
yeah,
revive
exactly.
there,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
you catch someone off guard with that there. It could be really really great for you. Obviously you've proved when you get trick room off just how effective it can be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so do you have any sort of predictions for the league overall? Do you think there's any looking at the other teams' transfers? Are there any other teams you think are sort of you know maybe a team to look out for? Is there any team you think might start sort of crashing
I
and
mean,
burning? Or
I mean, you've completely changed your team, so I'm like, okay, I've got to think of other strats now for you, because you've just completely changed
I
your team,
yeah,
and
I've
it's like, whoa,
swapped my team around entirely. Even my GMAX
yeah,
has changed.
yeah. I mean, it's just all changed. So I'm like, okay, wow, okay, all right. So and then you've chosen some good mons as well. Like Sableye is amazing, Prankster mon.
Yeah,
Rillaboom is a great GMAX. Dracovish, amazing, especially if you team it up with Hippowdon to get that sand boost.
standards. Yeah,
Um, Jolteon, I've always loved Jolteon, one of my all-time favorite mons. But Porygon 2, I mean, for me, Porygon 2 is one of the most annoying bloody Pokemon. It's so bulky,
yeah.
and
If you run
it
recover
can
on it
do
as well, it can just sit there and play annoyance for so long as well. Like
it can, yeah. And I think people also forget that Porygon 2, you can Dynamax the damn
oh
thing.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
actually, if you get that special attack boost, why not Dynamax it? It can do some pretty good
yeah.
damage.
It's a strong
So
field
and it's also bulky as hell. So you're going to take your time to get rid of it. But
absolutely.
I quite like Latvian's. I think he's done a couple of trades, and I quite like what I think he got
Yeah,
Grimmsnarl, didn't
he
he?
pretty much got his all of his trades in pretty much straight away, bar one. Which yeah,
Yeah,
he swapped out Clefairy for Grimmsnarl,
yeah.
and then
I think that's a good trade.
he's got Sork, Foongus, and Mudsdale.
Ah,
So
that's right. The Mudsdale.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mudsdale I
Mudsdale
think
works.
is I think people shouldn't sleep on that whatsoever at all.
No, definitely not.
With
No.
its ability, it can be the ability's called stamina or something, right?
Yeah,
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 it can. Yeah, it's. I've come up against it a few times, and it's it can be quite a difficult Pokemon to deal with for sure.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think Dave, he's made a couple of trades as well, hasn't he?
yeah, yeah, he's it says he's made quite a lot, but a lot of them he was trying something out. So he's actually made
Yeah.
money. He's made about 3.
Yeah. I mean, he's got his main core that he had before, but he's like made it better. So that's something I have to look out for when I go up against him in the first match of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I think we were saying in the interview with Dave that type nulls is definitely nothing to be slept on either.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Because type null can be any type. So you got he'll just choose a type that is strong against you. So yeah, got to watch out for that.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we've got for you, Aaron. So thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
No worries.
And,
Thank you.
Good luck for your match on Saturday against Div. I'll be very much keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we'll catch you later,
boss.
Aaron. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So that was Aaron just having a quick conversation with there about his team and about what he thinks is gonna happen the next half of the seasons. Aaron sounding pretty good, as everyone has. Everyone sounds pretty confident about their chances going into the second half of the season. So that's always great to hear. And yeah, he sounds pretty confident with his team. So it'll be really cool to see what Aaron gets done in the second half of the season and see if he can make that playoffs run from 5th place. But we are moving on now to Dogsy's Shadow Kings. Dogsy obviously sat in 6th place on the 3-4 record. That Excadrill has been putting in massive amounts of work for him. Sits there at 2nd most kills in the league. Just an absolute... I mean, you can't understand how good of a Pokemon Excadrill is anyway, but I don't think, looking at the team, you expected it really to be the one doing the most damage, I guess. But, you know, here we are. A few changes for Dogsy's team, just the 6 changes there. Obviously, the G-Max is probably the biggest one there that you can see. Butterfree has swapped out for G-Max Venusaur. G-Max Venusaur running with that Vulpix, which has been swapped out for the Haunter with Drought. You know, gets the Chlorophyll speed boost. And, you know, if the sun stays up, can obviously get Solar Beam late game, which can be just such a strong move. The G-Max Vine Lash move as well. You know, any move that's doing any kind of chip damage, you've just got to be wary of. As we've already touched upon, Politoed has went to Toadstool Belgrade, and in exchange, Shadow Kings have gained Dragapult. Dragapult is, you know, it's one of the best ones in the game by far. You know, you can never underestimate that thing. It can run support, it can run attack build, it can run a special build. It's super fast. You know, what more can you want? Indeedee Male is probably one of the most surprising trades, I would say, for Dogsy's team. Obviously, swapping out for Cobalion. You're definitely going to see some beat-up Cobalion shenanigans, similar to Aaron's team from Dogsy there at some point, I would think. Obviously, it's kind of a predictable move, but, you know, if they have no way to stop it and it can get going, you know... Cobalion, again, like the Terrakion, is a legendary, so it's strong. It's a good Pokemon. Obviously, Wobbuffet has gone to Toadstool Belgrade, and in its place, Shadow Kings have signed Ditto from myself, from Bulu Boys. I didn't really get to use Ditto the way I wanted it, in the same vein that Dogsy didn't get to use Politoed the way he wanted it, which he'll touch upon in his interview in just a hot second. So I hope to see Ditto do some work on that team. Poliwhirl has gone out to free agency, and in his place is Krokorok. Krokorok is a good Intimon. I'd imagine if he doesn't run the Eviolite on the Vulpix, that's where you're going to see the Eviolite. You know, any team with a lot of physical attackers, Krokorok's going to be able to, you know, if nothing else, get some of those stat drops. So I'm not going to blabber too much. Let's hear from the man himself, Dogsy, and see what he has to say. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have got the coach of Shadow Kings, Dogsy, here. Hello, Dogsy. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Matty. How about yourself?
Yeah. I'm doing okay, thank you. So, well, as I'm starting a few of the other interviews, we'll start with sort of like a general overview of the season. You had a bit of I guess it's fair to say, like, inconsistent time the first half of the season. Sort of, what are your thoughts on how it went?
It's all a freaking hacks. That's what it is. You know what? You guys are all cheaters. That's what I'm telling you all straight up. I should have won every single battle. I was by far the best. No, I'm only kidding. I appreciate you recording, so I'm going to keep this quite serious. Apologies for that. I just thought I'd mix it up. Honestly, I had a very rough first half of the season. I made a lot of silly mistakes, mostly because... like I said, the dynamics of playing on Showdown is still a bit weird to me. I know that Showdown's a great tool, but I find it a lot easier visualizing things, on cart when I can see fight, Pokemon switch, etc. like that. All those options there.
Yeah.
That's how I'm used to it. and I see the animations, I see who I'm attacking. So to be honest, my focus was a little bit sidetracked with some of those things.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that I should have lost or won. That shouldn't really play a part in how my battles do go down, but it did have some impact, I'd
Yeah,
say.
there was a few odd mistakes. I mean, the sort of most notable was obviously opening week against Dave, the bulldoze.
It was
Bug Buzz
a
played didn't quite well.
bug buzz instead of pollen puff.
Yeah, that was a bit of a yikes. But I mean, those happen. I think a few of the other coaches have had similar things happen. So it's just the nature of it. But I mean, it's still nothing to sort of tear your nose about. You're obviously on a 3-4 record. The top 5 teams are all on 4-3, so it's very, very close as things are. And as we say, you had a bit of an inconsistent time, but you still pulled out some really, really big wins. Obviously beating out Toadstar Belgrade and the Long Island Goomies. So obviously you lost your opening 2 games. So what you went into the next 2 games and you obviously changed a few things to get those wins. What sort of did you change to try and ensure you got those wins? Obviously Excadrill became more of a prominent part of your team. So
I think I just kind of tried 2 things. One thing was, where possible, I had a look at what other people were using, which I didn't do at the beginning.
Yeah.
I got a bit lazy. Like I said, drafts are still sort of new to me. I'm playing another draft league as well.
All right.
It's another mistake I make because I'm used to VGC style where you just go in with a team, you make it, and then you play.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean?
I
It's
understand. Yeah.
you don't prep to go against a certain team or a certain opponent. So that is still sort of a new concept to me, and it's something which I'm still trying to remind myself. Yeah, you've got to really practice for that specific team, mostly because they also know what's on your team.
Yes, yeah, they know what ones you've got. They know their speed and everything. That if they've played different games beforehand, they know what moves you've potentially got and potentially what strats you've got. So yeah, it is very different in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just one of those things which is still sort of new to me. In terms of sort of ups and downs, like I said, I found good synergy between a couple of key players on my team, like Excadrill and Mienshao, and also the combination of Indeedee and Slurpuff.
Slurpuff, yeah.
I found those sort of working for me. So I think I've just got to utilize the synergies a lot better this in the next half of the season.
Yeah.
Like I said at the start of the season, I think everybody's got potential with their own teams, but they've just got to start using them a bit better.
Yeah, using them properly.
That's
I mean, I said this in the interview with Aaron. I think as we proved when Aaron beat Silly and when Gus beat me, when Gus was 0-3 and I was 3-0, the league is so open ended and everyone's. Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much on the same sort or similar sort of skill level that anyone can beat anyone on their day.
Exactly. I think it's still open. Like I said, I think I've just got to utilize those teams a bit better this
half. Yeah. Oh.
I'm feeling confident.
Sorry, you cut off for those last 20 seconds.
I was just saying this half. I do feel like I am confident that I can just bounce back. Like you said, there's two brackets to the table. I'm hoping to go through the winners bracket and go there. But if I have to steamroll my way through the bottom bracket, that's just tough luck for whoever's in the bottom 4 with me because. They're going to miss out on that chance to get to the finals.
Winners finals. It's good. Everyone seems to be coming in sort of saying that they feel a lot more confident in the second half. I think one thing that I've sort of analysed from it is when we all first started, there was me, Dave, and Wheel who were all very aware of each other, but not aware of any of the guys from Switch tournaments. And then there was yourself, Lat, Gus, maybe Silly and Aaron as well, who were all pretty aware of each other as well, but didn't know what we were about. And now we've had those sort of 7 games to sort of see how everyone plays, how everyone's teams is and stuff. I think people are a bit more familiar with each other, I guess, is the right way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously that's going to play in quite a bit this season. There's been a lot of changes in teams though, so I think did you say the only person who hasn't changed was Gus?
Gus isn't changing.
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting to see how people play differently this this half of the season really.
Yeah, absolutely. So a nice segue there. You've obviously made a few changes to your team. I think that the first one I want to talk about is you obviously made the switch with Wio for Polytoad, and you've had Dragapult come the other way. So how do you think Dragapult's going to sort of factor into your team, just on a whole, not just so much in general, but do you think it's going to be an improvement to your team? Do you think it's going to be just okay? It's just a good mon to have there, or
I think Dragapult could be a make or break situation for me because my playing style, I tend not to like the setup sort of play, like where you go with the trick room, stuff like that, unless you've got a very concrete team that you can build around a trick room,
right?
Or a very concrete team that you can build around a tailwind. I feel like you're always going to struggle, and I think that Dragapult's quite a fast Pokemon,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's going to give me a lot of opportunities to get the first move in or get some sort of setup, I'm hoping. Obviously, I've got a couple of other Pokemon which I brought onto the team. I know you asked about Dragapult. Admittedly, Dragapult, I just did that to give Wio a Politoed because I didn't really get to utilize Politoed as much as I'd hoped.
Yeah, the way you wanted to.
But Dragapult has some good opportunities. Obviously, I've got Dragapult potentially mixing it in with Cobalion.
Yeah, obviously you picked up Cobalion as another one. Obviously Aaron's also picked up another one of the Swords of Justice. So what are your thoughts on Cobalion about what he can bring to your team? There's obvious, we won't gloss over it. There's the obvious beat up play with Cobalion and Justified. So do you think that's something you're going to utilize quite often, or is it just going to be like he's just a good mon in general that works around that?
I picked Cobalion mostly because out of the three, I felt like it's got one of the most versatile movesets.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Whether I go with the beat up strategy or not will be a game by game basis.
Yeah.
It wasn't my ultimate, game strategy to use it there, but I do feel it's one of the effective plays that can be done.
Yeah. If they don't have a way to counter it, it can be it can be quite hard to stop.
Exactly, and Dragapult is a very fast Pokemon in its own right too.
Yes.
So it's a good Pokemon to set that up with. I'm not going to really say like which direction I'll take it because I feel like I've got a lot of strong contenders now. Dragapult, Cobalion, Excadrill, Mienshao, Slurpuff. Did I get rid of Indeedee? I did get rid of Indeedee. Yeah.
Cobalion. Yeah.
I did see.
You've obviously swapped out your G-Max as well. Butterfree's now gone in place of Venusaur.
Yeah, we're going to see how well that works out for me. I love the hacks of the Butterfree chance with it. However, that was a situational base, and a lot of the time I left myself quite vulnerable because it was a flying type Pokemon as well as bug. So it wasn't immune to the psychic terrain.
No.
On top of that, it was very slow. So I did manage to make it quite bulky for the special defense.
Right. Yeah.
But it was still quite vulnerable to a good strong physical attacker. So I've tried to move away from that play. I do have other ideas for Slurpuff. I do see it as being quite useful on my team still.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Unbad can be really good if it's used correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's got other abilities, like with the Sweet Veil as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I'm thinking I might try and mix up how I approach this season altogether, really.
Yeah, and you've said you've still got some strong contenders there. Excadrill and Mienshao have stayed, and they were a really, really strong partnership in that first half. You've obviously picked up Ditto from myself and Vulpix and Croc as well. So you said to me sort of off stream that you've used Ditto and to counter some other players' teams in the league. I won't mention exactly who, but do you think Ditto's going to be something you'll bring too often, or is it going to be, as you said, like with Cobalion, that it's sort of like situational?
Potentially. I won't shy away from one thing, which Ditto is one of my favorite Pokemon
right, yeah.
in VGC as well,
Right.
as well as singles. So I've used it to climb the ladder with both of them,
Right.
um,
Okay.
and it's been quite a key contender of mine. Ditto is obviously going to be situational. Ditto's always going to be down to what moves have happened before, or who I'm up against.
Yeah, and what
So,
they've got in the back that might counter that thing it copies.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick, but if used correctly, could be really 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 cool. So we're now going into the sort of I've said this multiple times, but the business end of the season. We're sort of on the final stretch towards playoffs now. So, what are your sort of predictions for yourself and just the league in general going into these final 7 games?
right. Let me actually pull up the rankings here. So
Okay, yeah,
I am currently in sixth.
yeah.
Okay, so we've got this unknown entity at the top. Bolo Boys? I don't know.
I've never heard of them, to be honest.
No, they actually look. Oh, I'm up against them next, so that should be an easy win, I guess. No, like I said, it's anybody's game still. I think everybody's obviously brought in a lot of new energy to the next half of the season. It should be really interesting.
Yeah,
It's very difficult to obviously switch positions at the same time as that. It's very easy, to move around. Anything could happen. I'm quite confident in the league in general.
good.
Um,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm not sure whether, and I know it sounds like a bit of an odd way, but I'm not really sure if I want to go through in the winners bracket or then or whether to make my stride through the
the losers.
losers bracket, because like I said, we've got both options there, and there's a benefit to doing, both as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, the winners side, they have fewer games to play, whereas the losers bracket, it's more or less, you know, hit or miss. If you lose, you're out.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's almost a lottery, I guess. If you come up against a certain team and they're a bad matchup to you, that could be your entire playoff run completely down the drain. But
And
sorry, go on.
I personally feel that when the leagued rankings is out of the way, I am one of those players that can potentially put a bit of pressure on people with, an erratic play style.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's sort of the thing you want to see at playoffs, isn't it? You want someone to bring something a bit different that hasn't been seen during the season that might ensure the climb to the winners finals.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see sort of what transpires. So, is there any sort of teams in particular you think sort of? Sorry, let me rephrase that. What are your predictions for other teams in the league? Is anyone in particular who not you're afraid of, but you think are looking pretty strong? Is there anyone you think like they're looking a bit? I know you said the league's pretty open, but is there anyone you think looking at the league right now?
Look, I said it before. I think one of the strongest contenders in this league still probably is still going to be Latvian. Like I
Yeah.
said, I've seen Latvian come up with a lot of random strategies, and it is quite interesting. However, you cannot dismiss the current standings and the way people have played. I didn't know many of the others except for Lat and Gus.
Right. Yeah.
I'd not really seen anybody else play, and it's been interesting to see how the league has so far come.
Yeah, I don't think. I was saying this. I can't remember. Was I saying it? To you? Was I saying to Aaron? Just so. Yeah, I was saying it to you, wasn't it? Like that. Obviously, a lot of us weren't aware of each other. Going into this, so like, yeah, it's. I know at the start, you talked up Lat and Gus quite a lot, and Lat and Gus find themselves at opposing ends of the table. So it's just been really interesting to see sort of.
Yeah, Gus, I'm going to admit, I think Gus is just being stubborn. Might have lost some interest, might be a bit dismissive. I could be wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong because, like I said, I've seen Gus make some really great plays in the past before.
Yeah.
Latvian obviously has shown that he's a strong contender.
Yeah, Latvian's team is just so versatile. It's I mean, from playing against him, it's just so hard to predict exactly what he's going to do. If you can get one sort of part of his team sort of nailed down, he might bring something else, and it just completely just shuts you down.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the interesting things. Obviously, playing with the draft, playing with, is it 11 Pokemon we've got in total?
11, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to potentially, you'll have to wait and see, I guess, but potentially mix up my team from time to time just to throw people off. And like I said, I feel like we've got a lot more utility myself personally. Looking at a couple of the other teams, they do too. But I can't really speak as to who's going to come out strong. Obviously, the rankings show yourself there at the top. I think let's wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got 5 teams on a 4-3 record. You know, there's this week 8, the second half of the season. It could be all change. You know, you could have, you know, perhaps Aaron or Silly or Weo at the top. It could be anyone's game really, because there's 3 of them there that are on the same record and same match record as well. So it's very difficult to call, and I'm very excited to get going. But that's all the time that I've got for this interview. Thank you very much for your time, Dogsy. I do appreciate it.
Not at all. So yeah, I hope you look forward to seeing me in the finals, and yeah, just look out for Shadow Kings. There'll be a name to watch.
I will look forward to beating them in the grand finals. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The predictions were that the Bulu boys might not even make it past the quarters, but
okay.
I wish them all the best anyway.
Yeah, I extend the same to Shadow Kings, of course. Right.
Good speaking with you.
Yeah, you too, Dogsy. I'll catch you there.
See you in a bit. Bye.
That was our man Dogsy there. Always good to talk to him, the coach of Shadow Kings. Sounding very, again, another coach sounding very confident going into the second half of the season. But finally, we move on to our 7th place team, Gus's Aurora at Akuno. Sat there on a 3-4 record along with Dogsy. That Lapras G-Max, you know, yes, you can say he brings the same team every week. And you know, that's sometimes you think a bad thing, but all credit to Gus. He's managed to pick up 3 really good wins, including a win against myself. That Lapras is just so strong. If you can't stop Trick Room going up and you have no way to stop Lapras, you know, he's still going to be able to put in the work. And he's picked up 3 wins completely, you know, all credit to himself. So no changes for Gus. Pretty much as we expected. I didn't expect to see any changes from Gus to that team. I definitely think he's a dark horse. I don't think he'd mind me calling him that either. He's definitely a dark horse for playoffs. You know, if he can work that team correctly, if he gets Trick Room up, he's so difficult to stop. As you know, myself, Weo, Dave have all found it's a very difficult team to stop once it gets going. That, you know, the Lapras, the Vikavolt, really strong Pokemon. But you know, we'll see how he goes. We'll see what more that Lapras team can do. And move on to our last place team, Big Dog Dave, Newcastle Thunderous on the 2-5 record. Mama Swine didn't really sort of see very much of it up until maybe the week 4 or 5, but it just came out of nowhere and just started slapping kills left, right, and centre, and it's sat there on 10 kills now for Dave. So, you know, he might be in last place, but again, I would not count him out. He's a strong player. He knows what he's doing. He's picked up 2 very good wins. You know, he beat Dogsy week 1, 2-0, and he was able to get the 2-0 win over Aaron a couple of weeks later. So, you know, definitely don't count him out. Just the 3 changes to Dave's team. All tier 3 and tier 4 changes. Steelix has swapped out for Claydol. Claydol is obviously a ground psychic type, which is a very weird typing. Bringing that levitate ability. Can get Trick Room with that, so he has another Trick Room setter. Magneton has swapped out for Type Null. Now, I will be honest, Type Null is a Pokemon that I personally looked at. It is such a strong Pokemon because it evolves into Silvally. It can run Eviolite, and because all of its stats bar and speed are all sat at 95, it's just so solid across the board. And it can run the support, it can run as a physical attacker, a special attacker. Such a strong Pokemon. And finally, Xylos has swapped out for Lantern. Obviously, the Magneton and Xylos didn't really come very much for Dave in the first half of the season, so I can totally understand those changes. Lantern is a decent Pokemon of its own. It obviously gets the ability to Volt Absorb. And, you know, it's another Watermon to round out that team, Water or Electric. So it gives him that sort of like type resistance that he maybe needs. So I fully expect he's going to have a great season on that team. But rather than me talk too much about the team, let's hear it from the man himself, Dave, and he can talk us through his team and his team changes and what he thinks will happen as we move into the final few games of the season. Hi, hello everybody, welcome back. We are here with the coach of Newcastle Thunderous, Big Dog Dave. Hello Dave, how are you doing?
Let's go Thunderous! Hello.
Day full of valor and happiness. How are you doing today, man?
I'm fine. How are you, mate?
Good. I'm going. I'm doing good. I'm going good. So we'll just start off. We'll start off from the very beginning of the season. We'll start off from there, and we'll move our way
Way
on
back
to
when.
way back when. It honestly,
Yeah.
January the 30th seems like such a long time ago, and that's because
That when it
was.
started?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. So obviously week one, you picked up a really really great win against Dogsy's Shadow Kings. How are you feeling after starting like so positively? Were you feeling like quite optimistic, or were you a bit like, I don't want to get ahead of myself?
Well, edit a roller clip. I think nobody will remember that at the start I was like, if I get one win, this season has been a success for me, and I came out strong. Right,
Yeah.
we get the win straight away. Mission success. It's breezing for 11 weeks from then. It was just plain sailing.
You definitely came out
But that
swinging.
didn't mean. But I got overexcited. I started thinking, well, if I've won one, I could win two, and if I won two, I can win them all.
It's domino effect.
That's not how it turned out. No spoilers.
No, unfortunately not. You obviously.
I haven't won every game so far this season. I'll spoil that for you right now.
You obviously went on to lose to Latvians, Miami Heat, and then myself in the 2 weeks after that. But then you did pick up a really, really good 2-0 win over Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. So it wasn't all sort of negative. You were 2-2 at that point. In fact, you were third in the season, third in the league. Sorry, at one point. So again, was it a case of like, I don't want to get too much ahead of myself, or was it like, all right, okay, like we've got 2 wins on the board, we can like maybe see where we can go from here.
Yeah, it's very much like rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
I seem to be setting the form of I'll lose a lot, and then I get one win. And well,
Yeah.
kind of worked the other way, I suppose. I got a win, and then lost a lot, and then it was like, this is really bad. I'm in a really bad run of form. Got a win. I'm losing a lot of games. I need to get it. Then I'm like, oh, and then I'll get a win again.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm flirting with the relegation, so there's no doubt about it.
Oh well, no. I mean, as we said, everyone makes it into playoffs, so everyone's got an equal chance. See, the week after that, after the game against Aaron, you played Wio, and that was probably one of everyone's favorite games of the season. To be honest, it was a pretty close game. So
I bet he didn't mention that in his report, did he?
He did.
He'll have been, oh well, I beat everyone, me. I don't know why he's cocking me, but I made that boy.
Yeah,
Let the record show.
You pushed him all the way. To be honest, I think so. One Pokemon that featured in that game and featured quite heavily later on in the season was quite a big. Obviously, you had Aegislash in the first half of the of the season, was a really big Pokemon for you. But then you brought in Mamoswine. So like, was Mamoswine sort of something you were conscious of? Was always going to sort of bring the fire and do a lot of damage, or was it sort of like, oh, like, is this going to work? And was it just like trying to find the right team to bring it against?
Yeah, I think I made no mistake of it. I didn't really have a plan going in.
Yeah.
I just picked a load of mons that were like, yeah, these are cool. I'll use these.
Yeah.
And Mamo's one of them mons that is just good, and I like it. And in the first, I think I brought. We've played 12 games, probably, right?
We've played 7 up to now.
7. So that's potentially 20 games, actually, isn't it? Christ.
Yeah.
I'd say I've probably brought him like a middle amount. If you look at my teams, like Ferals probably came like every week. Aegislash, Incin, Ribombee probably came pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Like him, Azumarill, Charizard are probably on the same sort of tier.
Yeah, Charizard's come quite a few
Like,
times.
Yeah, they're just in the tier of. My teams tend to be, I know the two I want to lead with.
Yeah.
How do I round the rest of it out?
Yeah, which ones are going to complement those main 2 mons that you're going to come out swinging with?
It tends to be when I bring Ribombee, Mamo is like the polar opposite of it.
Yeah.
So if one comes, the other one tends to come as well.
Yeah, because then it can counter what Ribombee's weak to, and vice versa. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
not necessarily in a pair, but
no, but each the sort of they've got that sort of chemistry, I suppose you can almost say,
Yeah.
in that sort of format. So, speaking of Charizard, so what are your opinions of your G-Max mon? Because obviously I don't think you'd mind me saying he's not really been the sort of the mon I think everyone was expecting him to be at the start of the season. What are your
He's
thoughts
not been
on
the
him?
star of the show.
No.
Let's
No.
which is kind of what I thought the G Maxes would be for everyone,
Yeah.
and it just hasn't been the case at all
No. What do you?
for many people. I mean, yours maybe, but for most people,
more.
me especially, no. I think I brought him twice. Like,
Obviously, he did really well against Inglorious Surface. He was, the solar. Is it solar power? It's called the ability. Like worked super well with the sunny day setup from Rabombi. I think you really saw the true colours of Charizard in that game. But other than that, it kind of faltered. Do you think there's like a reason for that? I just think it's sort of bad matchups. Or
yeah, he doesn't have great matchups against the teams, and he's fast, but he's not like he's base 100, so he doesn't. If he outspeeds stuff, he probably outspeeds 2/3 of the team.
Yeah, he's very.
And he's always just, can I force him in? And it always just seems like I just have a better option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is sad because he's cool, but it just never seems to work. Apart from that one match against Aaron.
Okay, sorry. But I mean, sometimes that's the case, though. You've had some games like my own game against Wio, where he brought Ninetales for the first time and it just perfectly counted my team. Certain mons that come for the first time and you won't see them again. Another example is Torstar Belgrade's Galisopod came that one game against Surface, and I don't think we've seen it ever again. So
it just happened to wreck a whole team for 1 week and did its job for the full tournament.
It just went back on holiday. Yeah. Just sat sat his feet up and just sat drinking teepees. So so I mean, the first half of the season on the whole didn't exactly go fully according to plan for yourself. So let's talk about a few of the changes you've made to your team. There hasn't been too many you've made. But we will talk about the additions. So you've obviously added Claydol, Lantern, and Type Null. What are your plans? Without going too much into detail, obviously I know you don't want to give too much away. What are your plans for these mons in your team? How do you think they're gonna sort of fit in into the jigsaw?
I didn't see them as like missing pieces of the jigsaw as such.
Okay.
There was just mons there, like Magneton and Xylus, that just weren't doing anything.
Yeah, they obviously hadn't.
And the same things came up every week of when I was to do my team, thinking these guys aren't going to work. They're not going to work for this reason and this reason, and it was the same thing every time.
Yeah.
So I just went. I've had the mindset of getting rid of Magneton and Xylus since probably the third week. Like they've just been ready. They've been sat there waiting to be cast aside. Effectively, I brought Magneton once,
and
then realised it's just
didn't work.
I didn't bring them all in the 4, I think. So it was as much some fresh blood, really.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I think one of them might come in clutch this week, to be honest. So
I think Type Null, I think, is very much a sleeper pick there. I don't think people sort of quite realise.
Why do you think Type Null was a good pick, Matthew? I mean, that was pure inspiration on my behalf. So
it wasn't like I wanted him or anything.
Yeah, I know.
That is the nature of the transfer market. Whoever moves fastest gets the money.
Yeah. No hesitation.
He's going to be really great. I didn't quite realise he evolved. So he's got the battle armor ability, and then also you can run him with Eviolite. And he's just, because of his typing, he's obviously only really got the one weakness. And if you can,
and he's 90 BST across the
just right across the
something
board.
like that. Yeah, so I mean, he's pliable.
Apart from speed is his only thing that isn't 95.
Yeah, he's 59.
Yeah. So if he's EV'd correctly for a certain team, he's gonna really be able to do the work. So I do expect to see some big things from Type Null for sure. And obviously, for the most part, you've kept all your tier 1 mons, obviously your tier 2 mons, so and your G maxes. Is there any plans in between now and Saturday to change that, or is that pretty much set in stone now?
Yeah, the only team member that potentially would change now is Charizard.
Fair, yeah.
All of my high tier picks are the ones that I've brought the most often and have all done the best.
They've all done the work.
Yeah, like I can't. I can't. My tier ones have been like the best two, followed by my tier twos, which have been the best 3 and 4.
I was gonna
It's
say
just scaled all the way down.
just Slash and Mammothwine are tier twos, and like arguably like
Yeah.
next to Insane have done the most work.
Yeah, this the top 4 are just the top 4. They just are,
Yeah, they've done
and
been
you
really
you won't
good.
find. I, if I brought a team of 6, and the 4 of them weren't in, I'd be like, obviously I'm going for some sort of weird strat this week.
Yeah.
Maybe if 1 was missing, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. But them 4 are just gonna be
Quite
there.
surprising, yeah.
Yeah, they're just gonna be there.
So going into the second half of the season, as I said in the previous interview, the business end of the season now before playoffs. What are your sort of big predictions? What are your predictions for your own team and how you're going to do, and what are your predictions in general for the league?
I think I'm gonna have a better second half of the season than I did first.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I do.
Sort of just playing devil's advocate. Why do you think you're going to have a better time?
I don't know. Well, it's just like it's like a feeling, a confidence I'm exuding. There's no basis for it.
No, that's a good thing though. Like confidence breeds confidence.
Other than the fact that I know it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, that's a positive mental attitude, man.
That's what we're about.
So, like again, like what sort of predictions in general do you have for the league? Then do you have any teams that you think that people are going to have to watch out for? Do you think there's anyone who's going to maybe run away with it? Is anyone who's going to struggle?
See, I don't know if I'm, because as mad as it is, after half a season, there's literally only 2 wins in it.
Oh yeah,
From
absolutely.
top to bottom, like
that's a scary thing. It's like,
and it's.
I mean, I was speaking.
I can't. You can't predict it because the top 5. There's a team in the bottom half that has the same wins as the top team.
Yeah.
Like.
It's crazy. I mean, like I was speaking to Dogsy about this. Is Aaron was 0-2 going into week 3, looking pretty sort of down and out. Like
Has he gone 4-1 since then, and that one was against me?
Yeah, he's went like 4-1.
God, he must regret that.
Like he's just kept winning. He's looking really, really strong going into that second half.
Yeah, till tomorrow. What day is it? Thursday.
It's till Saturday. Yeah.
I'm doing my team. I was just speaking actually.
Oh, lovely. Nice. Yeah, I do agree. I think it's very, very difficult to call. Obviously, another player, Gus's Aurora Akuno, looked pretty much like down and out before he beat me, and now like he's very much still in it. You know, if he wins at the weekend, a couple of the teams.
Yeah, he's probably won 3 of his last 4, right?
Yeah.
That's frightening, isn't
it? He beat me, he beat you, and then he beat Wio.
Yeah, that's mental.
Yeah.
Because we all had him absolutely dead and buried.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was so confident going into that game with him. It's unbelievable. And then when I clicked submit team, and it was like, hang on, what?
Knock off.
Little things like that, Matthew. They're the reasons I think the second half's going to be better than the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. If
Little
you're
things
able to
like
sort
that.
of solve those little mistakes and things, I think.
If I'm able to not make an illegal team,
Yeah.
I feel like I will do better.
Well, I mean, like you've got 2 wins, and they're not sort of 2 wins against nobodies. I mean, yes, both of them are still in the bottom half of the table, but as we said, Aaron's well on his way to some good form. Dogsy's put in some really big wins.
Listen, I'm not Man City here. I'm Brighton. All right. I'm not beating the top guys. I'm here to scrap and fight away and chip away at these guys in the bottom half.
Make sure you get up there.
We might go down, but we're going down playing nice football.
Going down fighting, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, well that's all the time we've got for today. So thank you very much for your time, Div, and obviously
It's my pleasure.
Good luck going into your game at the weekend.
Yeah, good luck for the second half of the season.
Yeah. All right, that was Dave. Finally, our last interviewee there, right at the end, and another guy sounding massively confident. You've got to hope that Dave has a much better season, a better half of the season than he did the first half. But that's not can we discredit him. We spoke at the end there that he's got some good wins under his belt. The win against Dogsy, the win against Aaron. And you know, as we spoke about a little bit at the end, the league is so close. There's 2 wins in it. You know, 5th place is the same amount of wins as 1st place. And again, as we've spoken about a few times, I think the league is so close, like skill wise and just with the teams and whatnot, that Lat says it right there in the chat. Anyone can win. Anyone can beat anyone in this league, and that's what I love so much about it. But speaking of playing each other and beating each other, let's have a look at our Week 8 fixtures. We've got these. These will be going live on Wednesday rather than today. Normally the show would have went today, but because we're doing this today, the Week 8 British Mountain League show will be going live on Wednesday at 1 PM. We've got myself, the Bully Boys versus Dogsy Shadow Kings. Wheels Total Grid taking on the Long Island Gummies. Latvians Miami Heat taking on Gus's Aurora Akuno. And finally at the bottom there, Newcastle Thunderers taking on Inglorious Surfers. Some amazing games to kick off the second half of the season. And we'll see who the early pace setters are as we head into playoffs. Really exciting stuff coming your way, guys. And we are now, as we've said multiple times, we are on the home stretch for playoffs now. Just over a month until we hit playoffs. So keep an eye out for that. But that is going to do it for today. I have been your host, Matt Starr. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I will see you all on Wednesday at 1 PM for the British Mountain League show Week 8. And we'll go back to normal next Sunday. Next Sunday will be the Week 9 show. So I will catch you all on Wednesday. See you all then. Mwah.